Have you ever wondered why anti-vaping ads seem to fall flat? Why, despite millions of dollars spent, vaping amongst teens continues to rise? Are these campaigns actually helping, or are they just pushing teens further away? Anti-vaping ads have quickly become one of the most controversial and widely criticized topics in public health. Despite the massive resources poured into these campaigns, they've largely failed to achieve their goal, which is of course dissuading young people from vaping. Riddled with sensationalized messaging, misleading claims, and an evident disconnection from youth culture, the ads, primarily driven by organizations like Truth Initiative and The Real Cost, continue to miss the mark. Let us take a look into the dubious tactics and the cringeworthy execution behind these campaigns. Let's analyze why they've ultimately failed in their mission to reduce vaping among teens. As we mentioned earlier, at the forefront of the anti-vaping crusade, there are two major organizations: the Truth Initiative and The Real Cost. These organizations, which lead the anti-vaping movement, have poured millions of dollars into ad campaigns designed to capture the attention of young people. Their reach spans across YouTube, TV, and social media platforms, making their ads some of the most viewed in public health history. But despite their far-reaching presence, the question remains: are these campaigns truly effective in changing youth behavior? Starting with the Truth Initiative, it has been an influential force in public health for over 2 decades. Originally launched in 1999 under the American Legacy Foundation, the initiative aimed to reduce cigarette use among teens. The organization's financial strength came from a landmark $1.5 billion settlement from the 4 largest tobacco companies following the 1998 Master Settlement Agreement, which helped fund a variety of anti-smoking campaigns. They've also secured an additional $96 million from smokeless tobacco companies, giving them significant resources to combat tobacco use. In 1999, the Truth Initiative launched one of the most iconic anti-smoking campaigns, simply called Truth. This campaign immediately resonated with young people due to its bold messaging, which painted the tobacco industry as manipulative and exploitative. One of the most memorable commercials from this campaign was the body bag commercial, where young activists piled body bags outside Philip Morris's headquarters to underscore the deadly consequences of smoking. The emotional weight of this campaign led to impressive results: a 40% decrease in smoking rates among middle school students and an 18% reduction among high school students by 2004. Now, for the other major organization in this field, The Real Cost, which launched in 2014, it initially aimed at discouraging teens from smoking but quickly pivoted to focus on vaping, as e-cigarettes gained traction at that time. Despite its later start, compared to the Truth Initiative, The Real Cost has built a considerable presence in the anti-vaping conversation. However, while their ads are widespread, they often face the same criticism as their predecessor, struggling to effectively curb youth vaping. As for the Truth Initiative, its focus began to shift from tobacco cigarettes to e-cigarettes around 2018, when Juul, one of the most popular e-cigarette brands, became a significant player in the market. This pivot coincided with Altria, the makers of Marlboro, acquiring a 35% stake in Juul. At this point, vaping was no longer seen as a niche activity, but a widespread trend, especially among teens. The Truth Initiative, under CEO Robin Koval's leadership, recognized this shift and repositioned itself as an anti-vaping powerhouse. Koval's leadership brought significant changes to the organization, including rebranding efforts and a complete overhaul of staffing. Some insiders have noted that this change in direction was not without controversy. Critics within the organization worried that the Truth Initiative was abandoning evidence-based approaches in favor of a more alarmist agenda. The radical shift to anti-vaping rhetoric also led to accusations of cherry-picking research to support a new narrative. One of the biggest criticisms of the Truth Initiative's anti-vaping campaigns is the use of exaggerated claims and selective research. For instance, the organization often promotes the statement that a single Juul pod contains as much nicotine as 20 cigarettes. While this claim may be technically accurate, it doesn't provide crucial context. seeing as the duration and intensity of vaping are significantly different from smoking a traditional cigarette. It seems that the truth behind nicotine absorption in vaping is far more complex than the ad suggests. Even more concerning is the Truth Initiative's promotion of a narrative that vaping could increase the risk of contracting COVID-19. Of course, this was based on a study that drew criticism for relying on self-reported data, which is often unreliable. The study also failed to establish a direct causal link between vaping and the heightened risk of contracting COVID-19. In spite of the heavy pushback from public health experts, the Truth Initiative continued to promote this claim, fueling misinformation during an already anxious time. This decision to spread unverified claims only deepened the public's skepticism regarding the organization's motives and messaging. Perhaps the most significant issue with these campaigns is the manner in which they are delivered. See, anti-vaping ads are often criticized for being out of touch with their target audience, which are young people. The commercials rely heavily on outdated memes, awkward actors, and bizarre CGI, creating an experience that feels more like an after-school special than a serious public health message. Teens, who are increasingly savvy and discerning when it comes to media, are unlikely to take these ads seriously. Also, social media comments frequently point out the absurdity of these ads, with many young people calling them annoying and disconnected from the real issues. One notorious example of the Truth Initiative's campaigns was Depression Stick campaign, which sought to link vaping to mental health issues. While there is some evidence suggesting a relationship between nicotine use and mental health concerns, the campaign sensationalized the issue, focusing on fear rather than offering helpful guidance or any context. Ironically, the lack of nuance in this messaging leads to further alienation of the very group the campaigns aim to protect. Now, despite the massive investment and reach of anti-vaping campaigns, youth vaping rates have not decreased. On the contrary, data from the CDC shows that e-cigarette sales increased by over 46% between 2020 and 2022. This increase in vaping, particularly among middle and high school students, suggests that the current anti-vaping message are falling flat. Of course, not for the lack of the efforts, but organizations like the Truth Initiative and The Real Cost have yet to make a tangible impact reversing the vaping trend amongst teens. At this point, if these campaigns are to succeed, a fundamental change in approach is necessary. Rather than relying on scare tactics and misleading research, public health organizations need to move toward a more nuanced and balanced approach. Instead of sensationalizing vaping's risks, campaigns should focus on evidence-based information that resonates with young people's real-world experiences. For example, organizations could share personal stories from individuals who have suffered negative health consequences from vaping. They could also present vaping in the context of broader health risks, not simply as a bad habit, but as a dangerous gateway to nicotine addiction. Furthermore, adopting harm reduction strategies as seen in the UK could offer a more pragmatic approach, acknowledging that while vaping is not risk-free, it is far less harmful than smoking. You see, one of the major flaws of these campaigns is their failure to understand the culture and the preferences of today's youth. Teenagers today are more digital savvy than any previous generation, and they can easily identify when content feels inauthentic or patronizing. When campaigns use outdated memes or overly dramatic scenarios to make their point, they risk losing all their credibility. To effectively engage with young people, anti-vaping campaigns must be modern, relatable, and transparent. They need to meet youth where they are, using platforms and languages that resonate with them. As research consistently showing that young people respond better to messages that respect their intelligence and offer clear, relatable information. You see, when dealing with sensitive topics like vaping, the best approach is to engage in honest two-way conversations rather than attempting to frighten or shame them into action. I mean, there are plenty of valuable lessons to be learned from past public health campaigns that have successfully reduced risky behaviors. For example, campaigns that have successfully lowered drunk driving rates or increased seatbelt usage often rely on clear factual messaging combined with real-world stories. These campaigns empower individuals to make informed decisions based on data rather than fear. To be effective, Anti-vaping campaigns should adopt similar strategies, using data that clearly explains the health risks of vaping. Combine that with compelling personal stories, you could create a more powerful narrative that resonates with young people. Also, and more importantly, addressing the underlying cause of vaping. To effectively reduce youth vaping rates, it is crucial to address the underlying reasons why young people turn to vaping in the first place. Factors such as stress, peer pressure, and the allure of flavored e-cigarettes play significant roles. Campaigns that only focus on the risks of vaping without addressing these factors may miss the opportunity to truly connect with their audience. By understanding and addressing these root causes, public health organizations can create a more comprehensive strategy that offers practical alternatives and support. Also, by providing young people with healthier outlets for stress and peer interaction could be just as effective as highlighting the risks of vaping. In conclusion, the ongoing struggle to reduce youth vaping points out a larger issue in public health messaging: the need for a paradigm shift. It is now clear that fear-based tactics and sensational claims have proven ineffective and, in many cases, counterproductive. Moving toward a more compassionate, evidence-based approach is essential for success. The sad reality of anti-vaping ads today is a call for a change, a shift away from misleading messaging and toward a strategy that prioritizes empathy and respect for young people's intelligence. By adopting these principles, organizations like the Truth Initiative and the Real Cost can rebuild trust and create campaigns that make a real difference in the fight against youth vaping. Thank you all for watching. If you have any thoughts, feel free to share them in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.